Instead of focusing on winning arguments, we're teaching the basic fundamentals of sales and marketing and how we can use them to win in the world of politics, teaching you how to meet people where they're at on the issues they care about. Welcome to The Brian Nichols Show. Well, hey there, folks. Brian Nichols here on another episode of The Brian Nichols Show. I am, as always, your humble host, joining you from our lovely Cardio Miracle Studios here in sunny Eastern Indiana. It's just you and me today. We're going to do a quick but fun episode. Got some travel happening here over the next couple of days. Actually going to be recording some episodes while I'm on that travel, so you're going to see a little bit change of studio for a couple of episodes airing there next week. But this is going to be our Friday episode. And I thought it'd be good to open up the mailbag and actually answer some questions that you guys have been tossing my way over the past few weeks. And I apologize, I haven't had the chance to really dig into them recently. So I said, you know what? Heck with it. We got 15, 20 questions that were asked over the past, I think, 3 weeks or so. So I'm just going to dig into a few of my on my phone here. All right, so our first question comes from Jake in Ohio. Jake asks, hey, Brian, why do libertarians always lose the messaging war even when they have better arguments? Because arguments don't win in the court of public opinion. They might make you feel good, right? And this has been shown with debates. People who listen to two folks debate, they probably have one preference of one debater versus the other, and debates only reinforce our liking of that argument or that narrative. What really works, and this is frankly why we started the show focusing on selling liberty in 2019, was the idea that you have to meet people where they're at. You have to effectively sell our solutions, and you don't do that with facts and figures, right? Those help you make the case, but those themselves are not the things that people are actually choosing to buy when they make a buying decision. So it's imperative for us to stop, and pardon the expression, but being autistic when it comes to only focusing on principles, only focusing on the features and benefits of our solutions, and instead start talking about the outcomes, right? Why these solutions make things better and how they make things better, right? And paint that picture. Help the prospect, in this case the voter, understand how we got here, but more importantly, how we're going to get out of this situation. And by doing so, meeting them, again, where they're at on those specific issues that they care about, not just the ones that we care about. So that's why I think we don't do a great job with messaging. Also, the reality is that we are in a two-party system. So if you want libertarian ideas to get a larger platform, then don't try and build a tiny platform to compete with the largest platforms. Yes, that is one role that libertarians can go and build like a party to do, which we have done for the past 40 years, but with very minimal success. When I look at folks like Thomas Massey, Justin Amash, Rand Paul, they were actually able to make a large impact, both from being members of Congress, but also from helping use that pulpit, that platform of the GOP to reach a wider audience. So I think it comes to knowing your audience, knowing their main motivators, knowing how people make buying decisions, but also making sure you have a platform that's big enough to actually reach people who need to be reached. Let's see. Brian, this is from Carlos in Texas. Hey, Brian. What's your take on the cultural push to medicate every form of discomfort, especially in kids? I saw this recently. There was an article coming out about how Adderall, doctors were using Adderall to help with ADD, ADHD in kids, and obviously adults too, but it was really being pushed in schools with kids, and now it turns out that research was shaky at best. They don't even know if Adderall is effectively helping kids with dealing with attention deficit disorders or ADHD. So that, and then plus, this is just kind of the American way, it feels like. Give me something to numb the pain, right? There's that meme where it's a morbidly obese guy, and they're like, here, all you have to do is diet and exercise, and you can live a healthier and happier life. And he goes, no, give me a pill and let me die in peace. And that, unfortunately, is how a lot of people kind of look at medicine. They look at supplementation it becomes this easy button. And I was on another podcast. I was talking about like sales development for just like in the business world. And we see this a lot with like AI, automation. There is this human instinct, I don't know what it is, but to avoid things that are difficult and to literally go through and hit that proverbial easy button. Like, that is what I'm seeing, at least, as the number one reason why, to Carlos's question, there is such a push to medicate, right? And it's a lot of self-medication. I was finding this myself. Instead of dealing with issues back in like the late 2010s or mid 2010s rather, I found myself leveraging alcohol as something to help numb that pain. So I think it's looking for that easy button and then the numbing of pain around the issues that are bothering us, whether that's mental health issues, that's physical health issues, a combination of the two, or something else, right? So the reality is that we as a society just don't like having uncomfortable conversations. We don't like being uncomfortable. So I think that goes to why there is, Carlos, such a push for folks to go ahead and just medicate everything, because that's the easy way out. Let's see. Megan from South Carolina asks, hey, Brian, how can small business owners compete when the government keeps stacking the deck for big corporations? That's a great question. And this is the whole Walmart versus mom and pop shop conversation that's been going around for 30, 40 years, right? It really comes down to what unique differentiators you as a mom and pop business can represent, and value, right, that you can create. Think about Walmart. If you were to go to Walmart and you needed help, finding whatever, trying to find the right golf club, right? I don't know. I don't golf. So I pretend to golf. I go to Top Golf and I can Happy Gilmore it about, 100 yards. But other than that, good luck. Neither here nor there. But let's say I went to Walmart and I wanted to buy a golf club and I was like, I have no idea. I'm brand new at this. What golf club should I get? If I were to go ask the store associate that works in the sporting goods section, chances are they have about as much experience in golf as I do, which might be less than or equal to zero, right? So if that's the case, I'm not going to get a real, valuable experience at Walmart. But if I were to go to a boutique shop or a mom and pop shop where it's led by or it's run by a former golfer, right? Or, someone who actually knows what they're doing, what they're talking about, and could say, oh, Brian, you're 6'5". Okay, here you go. Here's a taller club. You're a little bit bigger. You don't need to necessarily have these lighter clubs. We can get you a nice big driver. And again, I'm probably saying things that aren't even true. I don't know, because I don't know golf. But to be able to have someone who can then add value, right, and differentiate from Walmart, that's huge. Like, that now gives me a reason to go to that shop, because I'm getting something from them that I couldn't get at Walmart. I'm still getting a club, right? I'm still getting a quote unquote solution to my problem. I need a golf club to hit the golf ball, but now I'm getting more context. I'm getting more value. And in this case, from someone who actually knows the sport, can contextualize what I'm looking for, versus just saying, yeah, we got red or green. Which one would you like? So that's what I would say is really, Megan, make it a point to figure out what your specific value adds are. And then what are some things that you can do that the big shops can't, right? And then just lean into that. Let that become your kind of like your marketing and sales. Like, that is your main differentiator. Let's see here. Deshaun from Georgia says, why does it feel like both parties are working against everyday Americans? Yeah, it does feel like that, huh? Also, don't ask about Jeffrey Epstein, or Donald Trump might kick you out of his base or out of MAGA. So be careful there. No, I mean, Deshaun, you're definitely hitting on something that I think we're all feeling right now, and that is, we have two political parties, and this might sound a little contradictory to what I said earlier, right? But hear me out. We have these two political parties in the Republicans and the Democrats, red team, blue team. And I think what we're seeing is, behind the scenes, it's really not two parties. It's one party, right? It's this uniparty. It's the elites, it's the haves versus the commoner or the have-nots. And maybe that's a little bit too populist to approach this as, but I mean, what else does the data show? I don't see any other alternatives to this. But Brian, you said to have a voice as libertarians, we should join the GOP. No, I didn't say to just join the GOP. I said to use that platform, right? And this goes to where I think, Republicans who are libertarian in ethic need to do what Thomas Massie has been doing, and that is differentiating himself from the party. He is not Thomas Massie, Republican, who also is a libertarian. He is Thomas Massie, who is a principled libertarian who is using the GOP as his party platform to help expand his message. And by the way, who has Donald Trump been going after in Congress more than Thomas Massie, or he calls him Rand Paul Jr., right? Which by default shows that Rand Paul is also a thorn in Trump's side. Good. I want folks like Thomas Massie and Rand Paul being the thorn in the proverbial side of folks like Donald Trump and the political elites. That's not to say, right, that there's no difference between the GOP and the Democratic Party. I think it's very obvious that there is, and the outcomes from the election in 2024 should show that. And still, I know I voted for Trump, and again, I did so begrudgingly, not enthusiastically. I said it really came down to who was the better option. And the choices were Kamala Lala Ding Dong or Donald Trump. And I made the calculated strategic voting decision to vote for Donald Trump. That's not me saying I like Donald Trump. I have had battles here on the show with good buddies. Kenny Cody, he was on the show here, and I was still going to war with him in 2024 about Trump and his support of the COVID lockdowns, pushing the COVID vaccine on folks, and keeping folks like Anthony Fauci, Deborah Birx, Rochelle Walensky in their positions of power from a health perspective. Those are very real issues I have with Trump, and I voted for Trump knowing that ahead of time, right? I didn't vote for him I voted for him despite of that. And that for me speaks to why, there is this feeling why do both parties really hate America? Because at the end of the day, when both get elected, they end up finding different ways to screw the average American. And that is what I think it really comes down to, is that there are just so many people who are just flat out disgusted with the political process in general. Because is it Tom Woods, right? No matter who you vote for, you end up with John McCain. That's kind of the vibe that we get. And be it fair or not, that's the perception. And as we know, perception becomes reality. So I think at the end of the day, Deshaun, you're right. It does feel that way because the elites in those parties definitely are a uniparty, right? And they really don't care about the average person. And I don't think that's controversial to say. Donald Trump doesn't know me. He doesn't know you. He doesn't know 99.9% of America. He's met some folks here and there, and he uses that as political capital and goodwill. But in terms of him actually going out of his way to be aware of what the average person lives through, no, Trump's a billionaire. He's never had to live a life like we have. And I'm not saying oh, poor us. That's just the fundamental reality of the situation. So I think that's why, Deshaun, and it goes to a lot of folks just being completely out of touch. Hey folks, I want to take a moment to talk about something that has truly changed my life, and that is Cardio Miracle, our incredible studio sponsor. Now, I'll be honest, when I first heard about Cardio Miracle and their claims about improving heart health, I was skeptical. But after using it for just about 2 months, I was absolutely blown away by the results. First, my blood pressure went from being consistently around 140/90 to a much more healthier and manageable 120/80. And my resting heart rate dropped from the low 70s to the high 50s. And I couldn't believe it. But the benefits didn't stop there. I started sleeping better, and I felt more energized at the gym, and my heart felt the best it's felt in years. And it's not just me. Hundreds of you, our amazing listeners, have reached out to share your own incredible experiences with Cardio Miracle. So, what is Cardio Miracle, and how does it work? It's a carefully crafted supplement that harnesses the power of nitric oxide to support optimal heart function. So, by increasing nitric oxide levels in your blood, Cardio Miracle helps relax your blood vessels, improve circulation, and it protects your heart from damage. It's like giving your heart the support it needs to function at its best. And here's the best part. We've got an exclusive offer just for you, our loyal listeners here at The Brian Nichols Show. When you head over to cardiomiracle.com and use code TBNS at checkout, you'll get an extra 15% discount on your order. Plus, with their 100% money-back guarantee, you've got nothing to lose and everything to gain. So, if you're ready to take control of your heart health and experience the life-changing benefits of Cardio Miracle for yourself, just click the link in the show notes or video description. Trust me, your heart will thank you. And don't wait another day to prioritize your health. Join the tens of thousands of folks who have already discovered the Cardio Miracle difference. Head to cardiomiracle.com now and use code TBNS for 15% off your order. Your journey to a happier and healthier heart starts today. And now, let's get back to the show. All right, so we have another question. This one comes from Ben in Utah. Ben says, hey, Brian, is it still possible to have real community without government programs being the one tying everyone together? Man, that's a good question. And we've seen over the past 50 years, there has been such a retraction of these different brotherhood organizations, like fraternal organizations that traditionally serve that role. They've really gone away. And a lot of communities, and I'm not sure about you guys, but and Ben, I'm not sure where you are in Utah, but I live in a little town here in Indiana, and it's sad because the only things that really hold us together, where we have some commonalities, are usually those things that are put together by the government. So we have our Memorial Day parade, or we have your school football team, right? That kind of rah community spirit. It has unfortunately become more rooted in those different areas where government has played some role. Now, on the counter side, though, I do see that there very much is an opportunity for folks to actually build the future they want to see, right? And build the communities they want to see outside of government. Again, looking at my own little town here in Indiana, we have a ginormous Christmas festival downtown that's run by the Chamber of Commerce. Now, some may say, oh, Brian, now you're just splitting hairs, because they're basically a pseudo little government entity, and that's fair. But the fact that the Chamber of Commerce is able to go out and create something beautiful that gets thousands of folks to join the experience and to come into the city and just be around each other, it does speak to you don't need to have the government being the one to say what we're going to do or what we're not going to do. And that's I think that's good. I think that's a really good thing. Because that speaks to the fact that there are still, I think this is across the board, we're going to see there's a lot of folks out there who they want to embrace the things that we can agree to and share. And it doesn't have to be force-fed through some government program or through a school or what have you. So what I would say is, yes, Ben, it is possible. The challenge is actually getting things started. And this maybe is where we see a lot of folks have trouble here, because it's important for us to take that first step. You have to be able to say, hey, this we're going to do something new. It's not going to be perfect, but we're going to start doing something in our community that's going to add value. It's going to bring people together. And you might have, a handful of people show up that first year, but you keep doing it for a couple of years, and I can almost guarantee you're going to see things start to compound, right? Compounding interest. So I think, again, think of my little town here in Indiana. We started a farmer's market, and that farmer's market, I remember when I first, moved here, it was a good farmer's market, but there wasn't a lot of folks there. They had maybe 10 tables, 10 vendors, and, maybe 50 or so people showing up. And this was for a summertime. And then the next year, there was more people. There was more vendors. The next year, even more vendors, more people. This year, fast forward to where we are today, and they had to double the venue size for the vendors. There's quite literally hundreds of people who come through to the farmer's market on every Saturday during the summer hours or the summer time frames. So that's a perfect example. It starts with doing something and then just being consistent, being that thing that people know they can look forward to. So yeah, I think, Ben, there absolutely is a role for folks to build the communities they want to see, and they don't necessarily have to use government programs to tie it together. Let's see. We're going to go towards the tail end here. Got like one or two questions left. All right, here we go. Logan in Florida. Oh, this one's controversial. Here we go. How should men show up in today's culture without getting labeled toxic? Toxic masculinity is way overblown. What's happened is when men are just being men, that has become being toxic in a lot of more left-leaning, socially progressive circles. The elephant in the room, gents, is that those people are never people that you're going to be able to convince nor get on your side. So don't waste your time worrying about what they think or what they say. That's not to say we should just outcast them, right? But we need to put it into context. Like if you had someone who was a morbidly obese individual telling you really shouldn't eat that. That's not healthy for you. If you're eating, I don't know. You're eating your Joyride snacks from Ryan Trahan, right? I don't know. I'm just making something up here. But like, if you heard that from the morbidly obese person, you'd be like, okay, I'm going to take your advice. Sorry. That's not me, making fun of you, fatty. It's me acknowledging that I'm not going to take advice from someone who quite obviously doesn't have their own stuff together. So it becomes white noise. You just, okay, move along, right? You can avoid being labeled truly toxic by not doing toxic behavior and by just being a good person. I see this a lot where folks are like, well, what can I do? What can little old me do? I can't make a difference. Sure you can. Absolutely can make a difference by being the change you wish to see. I had a podcast back 2 or 3 weeks ago with someone, and they were talking about how there was a really big need in their community to start seeing like a community neighborhood watch, that was the word, start to form. And one of the people in the comments was like, oh, what we need, just another group of white men walking around the streets thinking they can control, what's good and what's bad, and that they're going to, put unarmed, minorities at risk, whatever the nonsense was. And for every one of those voices that you hear or that they heard, there was another 5 people saying, thank you for doing this, because I don't feel comfortable bringing my kid outside, after 7 p.m. I don't feel comfortable, going for a jog in the morning, early mornings. Like, that right there speaks to how it's never, like, the loudest voices are usually the loudest voices because they're just loud. And folks that don't agree usually just kind of sit silently. They don't speak out. And it's for fear of those loud voices being just the loud, obnoxious voice, right? And screaming at them. So people just sit in silence. They suffer in silence. So to the question, is that Logan that asked that question? Yeah, Logan in Florida. Don't stress about that. Just go out of your way, do good, right? Be a positive force for your community. The people who, frankly, you should be concerned about, like the folks who actually care, they will thank you. And even if they don't verbally thank you, they will be silently appreciating it and seeing what you're doing. And when that time comes that you do start to get yelled down by those loud voices, it probably gives them a little bit more ammunition to speak out. So take that for what it's worth. All right, last question. And this one comes from Eric in my state, Indiana. Eric says, Brian, what's your one personal habit or mindset shift that changed your life the most? Daily exercise. And this is something I still like. I have to make it a point to do every single day. It's very easy to hit that snooze button, right? And I guess that correlates with waking up early. I am a big believer in waking up early. I try to get up every day at 5 a.m. if possible. There are days I fail, and I 100% embrace the fact that I am not perfect. But if you can be as consistent as possible in waking up early and then, in my perspective, getting a workout in, that has been the number one way I have found to be more productive. I have found to be the most healthy and mentally the most clear. Because like and by the way, this is for anybody who has a kid or a very young kid for that matter. Like the quiet hours of the day, those are the times of the day you just embrace. Like when the kid's asleep, like taking a nap, actually still asleep, whatever it may be, to be able to just like know I have this time for myself. I can take care of me. You can work out, go to the gym, get that workout done, go do some reading, work out the brain, right? Like start your day, build out your to-do list, start responding to the email, start doing like the things that are creative. I find I'm very creative in the morning if I'm up early. And the other piece I've had to get better at too, which is ironic because we're doing a podcast here, is I've had to stop listening to podcasts as often as I did. We had Will Young on the show back like 3 or 4 months ago. And we were talking about this where I had gotten very used to like having one earbud in my ear and I would like be just doing things throughout the day and I'd just be listening to a podcast. And in my brain, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm getting all this information. I'm absorbing content. Like I'm becoming a more efficient, better version of myself because I'm constantly listening to experts or, folks who are in the business world doing the thing I'm doing or listening to politics. I'm getting all the different nuances. And what I found was that as I was doing things, right, and listening to that at the same time, physically, I was here. Mentally, I was there. And it's very difficult, even though I talk about my struggles with true ADHD, not the bullshit like, hey, let's just give kids a bunch of Adderall ADHD. I genuinely have trouble staying focused on things. Like for me, having that in my ear was only making that worse. So what I found was being able to just take out the headphone and be present. Like if I'm going to listen to a podcast, it's going to be when I'm like physically doing something like working out or going for a walk or something like that, or driving to work. Like that's the times I'll listen to a podcast. And I will set that time aside to say, this is my podcast time. I'm going to listen to it then. But in terms of just having the headphone in and just casually listening throughout the day, I had to stop that because now my brain is always thinking about the things that are around me, the things like being present, right? And it's important to be present versus just listening to those podcasts because those podcasts are talking about things from when they were present. And if I'm only listening to that podcast as like kind of the understanding of what's real and what I should be doing without the context of what I'm doing, right, then I'm obviously going to be missing the mark. So that's a long way to say being present and not leveraging the thing, the podcast, the music in your ear, whatever your headphone, your earbud in your ear, listening to podcasts as it was for me, whatever that is for you. That's one tip I would make. Like just find ways that you can be more present, especially if you have little kids. Like they are high energy, they are just intense with love. But at the same point in time, like they can be exhausting. And I know, like I've done it myself and shame on me. Like there are times I'll just be like, I need to put something in my head. I just need to listen to something. I need to escape. And I'll put a headphone in and I'm like, nope, shame on me. Don't do that. So that would be my piece of advice is be more present. But if you can, also do those other things. Wake up early, start your physical activity, read books. Reading books is really, really good. Just be able to take time and slow down. In our society, in our world today, it's just everything's so fast paced, and there's a lot of beauty in being able to take a step back and just like chill for a little bit. So there's our Q&A for today. I know it's a different episode than you guys are used to. It's the middle of July. Sorry, guys. Visiting some family, so, be able to actually take some time and step away. And by the way, this is episode 996, which means it's channeling the old Bill Cosby as himself, little Jeffrey, 4 years old. We have 4 episodes left before episode 1000. And episode 1000 is going to be a big change. Like I mentioned before, we're going to be doing a couple different things going forward. Namely, the show is going to be split into 3 different shows. Now, if you're subscribing to The Brian Nichols Show on the Brian Nichols Show RSS feed, no worries. All those shows will continue to show there. Or if you're subscribed to The Brian Nichols Show over on Lions of Liberty, you will also continue to see The Brian Nichols Show every single week on Thursdays. What will change, though, is that those Monday and Friday episodes will now be hyper-focused on Mondays, health and wellness, and then on Fridays, business, sales, entrepreneurship. Our Thursday episodes, The Brian Nichols Show, as it is, The Brian Nichols Show, and then over on Lions of Liberty, we're still talking politics, culture, current events, all that stuff and more. So if you're, a Politico and you're like, Brian, I don't listen to you for health and wellness, I don't listen to you for business, that's fine, no worries. We're still going to have the Thursday show. But if you're someone who you're like, listen, Brian, I love the show, but frankly, I really don't listen for the politics, which... Who are you? Talk to me. But like, if you're that person and you're like, I just enjoy those health and wellness episodes. I love listening to, folks talk about things from that health and wellness perspective, or you're much more into the sales, entrepreneurship, business world, which is, my day job, right? Like these other shows are going to be standalone shows for you. And also like elephant in the room too, the greater audience that's out there, not just you guys, like there's a lot of folks who want to have that type of content, but they're afraid of I say afraid. There's just this instinct to avoid the political. So if they go to the Brian Nichols Show, they're going to see shows where, we've talked about, cultural issues like transgenderism as it pertains to its impact on kids, where we're talking about, Trump versus Harris back during the election. We're talking about libertarianism and stuff. Like there's folks who hear that and they're like, dude, that's not for me. Like, I don't want to listen to that. I don't want to talk about politics. But if they go to the Wellness Fix, which is our Monday name of the new show, the Wellness Fix, they know what they're getting. They're going to get health and wellness. They're going to be talking about, stuff that's in that type of world. Or if they're going to the Friday episode, the Sales to Success show, they know that it's going to be talking about sales, business, entrepreneurship. So not only is it an opportunity for them to know this is what I'm getting myself into, but it also gives them a platform now where they just feel that, okay, I know this is what I'm going to have for content. And it's much more accessible, because as much as I am a very vocal and loud small L libertarian who talks about political messaging and sales strategies, I have a lot of other things I care about too. So, to be able to bucketize each of those shows, I think is going to open up our audience and really, get more people into that world than we would have otherwise. But on the flip side as well, I think it's going to give me the chance more to compartmentalize when I'm talking about these things on the show and be like hyper focused on that one specific area. So with all that being said, if you know of any guests that you think would be a good fit for both the Wellness Fix or Sales to Success, both in the health and wellness or business and sales world or entrepreneurship, do me a favor, email me, brian@briannicholsshow.com. Would love to hear who they are. Would love to talk to them and see if they might be a good fit to get in the show. And of course, please do me a favor. Once I air those new RSS feeds, which I'll be doing here after episode 1000, if you want to go ahead and subscribe and continue to check out the show on those different platforms, please do so. YouTube, Rumble, all those other platforms, they'll be uploading there. Or if you just want to continue to stay here on the Brian Nichols Show RSS feed, just don't be surprised when you see a brand new thumbnail that's like a different show. Like, who is the Wellness Fix? What is this on the Brian Nichols Show? Don't worry, it's still me. It's still the Brian Nichols Show. It's just this is the Wellness Show or the Sales to Success Show. What's that? Yeah, it's Brian still, just all focused on business and sales. So I'll get off my soapbox here, guys. I really appreciate you guys continuing to support the show. We've gone through a lot of changes here over the past few years. And, just quick shout out to my good buddy, Chris Spangle. Chris is a dear friend, and he gave me the platform back in 2017 to first join We Are Libertarians as a contributor and as a guest, and I was on their show. And then in 2018, actually launched the Brian Nichols Show as a part of the We Are Libertarians network. And, it was for, 4 or 5 years. I was one of the landmark shows with the We Are Libertarians big show, yours truly, the Brian Nichols Show, and then there was the Boss Hog of Liberty, which is a local Indiana podcast talking about Indiana politics and local news. And by the way, his studio, I can see his desk right there through that door. So there's that, and then other than that, though, what was I just saying? Oh yeah, so thank you to Chris for giving that opportunity. We ended up leaving the network back in 2023. Yeah, 23. And just I've had some folks ask me, Brian, why did you leave We Are Libertarians? It's because Chris and I hate each other. No, I'm just kidding. Chris is a near and dear friend. Love him to death. Like truly, Chris is a great human being. No, I left the We Are Libertarians network because libertarians, by and large, kind of left me. And this is something that I've found over the past few years is that the truth is uncomfortable. And libertarians had a very allergic reaction. Not all, but a lot of what I've called the lulbertarians. There is an allergic reaction to being told that what you've been doing isn't working. And I've called this out many times in the show. There's the social club libertarians where all they want, right? All they want is to have that little club, where, I'm the secretary, I'm the treasurer, I'm the social media coordinator. Okay. Like that doesn't mean anything, guys. And to take that and apply it to real world, right? Like, what are the issues that people are talking about and why are we not resonating? Back to a question earlier, like libertarian solutions work, right? They do work, but you have to be able to meet your customer where they are, not saying, read this book, you rube, you'll figure out why. And that right there, it turned off a lot of folks who were more of the social club libertarians. And, it got to the point where I realized that in order for me to feel that I'm being the most effective in what I'm trying to do, I had to branch out. And that was all done. Chris and I are still very, very tight friends. And we left, or I left the network back there in 2023. I very quickly joined the AMP America network, and I was there for just shy of 2 years. And, we did some great things over at AMP America. We had our weekend review show, which is really cool. My buddy Remzo Martinez, which, by the way, I know folks are saying, Brian, where's Remzo? We missed your shows with Remzo. Don't worry. I promise Remzo will be back. Remzo has been busy. This thing called life. He just moved out of Wisconsin over to Las Vegas. So he's been a little busy, right? And I'm busy being a dad. And, also I started a new role at a new organization. And then, again, that silly thing called life. So don't worry. Remzo and I are still tight. We'll make sure we have Remzo here on the show very soon. And by the way, behind the scenes, Remzo is phenomenal at helping make some introductions for potential guests in the platform and stuff. So, really appreciate my time over at AMP America working with Remzo. Just, salt of the earth, great human being. Go check out his work, by the way, marketer on the run. And then recently joined the Lions of Liberty Network, right? And Lions of Liberty, John Odermatt, Brian McWilliams, and then Lou Perez and yours truly. We make up the quartet that is officially Lions of Liberty now. And thank you to the great Mark Clare for being one of those voices I used to listen to back when I was a baby libertarian and helping with John and Brian build up that network. Mark left the show back a couple years ago to kind of do his own thing. And, Mark's just, again, a great human being. Love Mark, and really humbled to be able to have the opportunity to take what he and John and Brian McWilliams were able to build and now have the chance to, bring it forward and hopefully grow that network even more as well. So, all that being said, that is where we are today. And looking back, I can't believe we are just 4 episodes, 4 years old, 4 episodes short of 1,000. 1,000 is just a milestone. When you hit record on that first episode 1 of the Brian Nichols Show, I look back and I'm just like, I had no idea what I was doing, nor what I was getting myself into in this world. And I mean, doing this basically I mean, for sure every week, but multiple times a week at the rate we've been doing, but at least once a week for the past 7 years. It's been a lot. It's been a lot of sacrifice, a lot of long nights, a lot of early mornings, a lot of stress, but man, it's been great to be able to build this audience, to talk to you guys every week. And I really appreciate the love, the support you guys give. I appreciate the questions you guys ask when you email me. Again, Brian@BrianNicholsShow.com. Like, you guys are the reason I do this. There have been times when I've sat there, I've looked at the microphone after an episode, and I'm like, I'm done. I'm so done. There was a time even back last year and early this year where I genuinely sat back and I was like, dude, and here's some, like real peek behind the curtain stuff, folks. Like, there was one time where I sat there and I was like, you know what? I'm just tired of having the same conversation over and over and over again. I was having guests in the show and I just felt like it was a copy and paste at times of the questions that I would be asking them, because we're talking about the same shit. and that was one of the main reasons why I decided I wanted to go ahead and flip things around a little bit and switch things up. So yes, starting episode 1000, 1001, we will be doing our brand new cadence here. Each of the shows of the Brian Nichols Show will continue in the spirit of episode 1, episode 1001, 1002. But for the Wellness Fix and the Sales to Success podcast, those shows will begin their own individual counters. So again, make sure you go ahead, subscribe to those when those pages are live. I'll make sure I share those links on episode 1000. And as for episode 1000, I've seen podcasts do this where they'll do like, a big extravaganza. They'll have some big guest. We're not going to do that. We are going to just chat. We're going to talk about what's happened over the past few years, where we're going. Maybe we'll have some throwback guests on here in the show. I don't know. Maybe we'll go through some past episodes and just talk about what went wrong, what went right, all that and more. I'll kind of waffle on that as I'm away here for the next little trip, and I'll think about what we want to do there. But thank you. As we get to episode 1000 here, and we're going to have a couple episodes air this week, episodes 997 and 998. 999 and then 1000. So just make sure you've hit subscribe, and of course, thank you for taking your time and listening to the Brian Nichols Show, wherever you may be, right? I really appreciate that. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and put a pin in today's conversation with me and you. So thank you. With that being said, Brian Nichols signing off here on the Brian Nichols Show. Until next week, we'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening to the Brian Nichols Show. Find more episodes at briannicholsshow.com.